it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are not actually creating a card, but we are creating a gift box set that holds envelopes and cards to kind of like a little gift box. Now I have a couple of the card bases here that I would usually use. These are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, and this is pretty much how I like measuring. So I got out some cream card bases just so you can kind of really see where they are at. This piece of paper that I'm starting with is 8.5 by 11 inches, so it doesn't matter what you start with, but because my cards are 4 1/4 inches wide, I'm starting off with a score at 4 3/4 inches, then moving it along 1/2 inch and doing a score at 5 1/4 inches. So that is how thick my box is going to be. I want it to be 1/2 inch thick all round, and that roughly leaves me room for about 5 cards with a little bit of bulk and 5 envelopes on the other side. So at the moment we just go score at 4 3/4 inches, then leave 1/2 inch and score again at 5 1/4 inches, and then I just cut the page off at another 4 3/4 inches. Now I'm going to cut this down the other way because the cards that I make are generally 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm going to make this a 6.5 inch tall little gift box set. Now if you prefer to make 5 by 7s or whatever, then go from there. So you can just kind of adjust this to whatever you prefer to make. So once I have done that, I just have another scrap bit here and I'm cutting down a square, and then the square is going to be about 5 1/4 inches long. It's 5 1/4 because that's the width of the box that we have created. Then I prefer to do 1/4 inch scores. So I do 2 of them. So I score at 1/4 inch and then I score at 1/2 inch. And we are going to create kind of like a little pocket. So all I did was create a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch square. I cut it in the diagonal so that it's 2 even triangles. And then I've done these 2 score marks, and these are basically going to form the little box part of my pocket. So I'm going to do this to the other one as well. Now I prefer to do this in plain paper, and then I usually cover it with patterned paper. Of course you could ink it up, you could stamp it up, you could do some watercoloring on this if you did it in watercolor paper, you could just start with patterned paper. I mean, options are endless as per usual. Then at the very ends here we just want to cut off most of those little ends but leave one little tab, and that will kind of tuck on under just so that our corners are kind of nice and secure and closed in. If you don't feel confident in making this the first time, I suggest you give this a go out of copy paper, to begin with, like some computer paper, some really cheap, even newspaper, anything just to kind of get the hang of it. It will be a little more fiddly because the paper will be a little bit thinner, but it's worth giving it a go. This is a very, very simple box. So this is kind of my go-to gift box set when I need to make one. It doesn't take me too long to make them, which I appreciate. So this is kind of what it looks like once we kind of tuck it all up. So you've got one of that 1/4 inch parts becomes the side, and then the next little 1/4 inch part becomes the bit that I will glue onto my box that we created to begin with. This is the Over the Rainbow paper pad by Woodwear. I have had this stashed for ages because I love this so much, and at the moment I'm trying to go through and use up all the things that I have been happily hoarding, and that's okay if we hoard and it's okay if you hoard, but I'm trying really hard. I have a very small craft space and there will always be more gorgeous things come out. There will always be more pretty patterns. Anyway, this is just what I'm trying to tell myself to convince myself to use all of these. I definitely have kept some, but I really like the blues and I like the oranges because it's going to contrast nicely. These colors aren't too bright and too crazy, but they do have a bit of texture and kind of funness to them, so that's why I'm choosing to use these. I have put a little bit of double-sided tape on the top side there. I have also added a little bit of liquid glue just so it's really secure, and I'm going to do all but the bottom bits that will tuck underneath because I like the sides of my gift box to be coloured as well when they kind of peek in rather than being white. But if you wanted to, you could skip this step and just do the inking or stamping or whatever you wanted to do here, or you could just do it out of coloured paper to begin with. I just choose to pop the pattern paper on later on because it's not strong enough to hold up by itself in my opinion, and this makes it extra sturdy, and I know that however long the recipient uses this little box for, it's going to hold up pretty well. So you can see the covers, the sides are all covered there nicely too. Now at this point I just need to do the other one. I also am going to pop some double-sided tape along the little flaps that will be attached to the gift box. So I prefer to use double-sided tape. It's just nice and strong and quick and adheres instantly. I cut off those little edge bits there, so I kind of cut across and then down on an angle. That way everything is going to be tucked in and kind of kept out of the way. It looks like it all flows nice and smoothly. And there is one corner pocket, and then I will create the other one as well. So just really easy. I mean, this is just my way of doing it. Don't get me wrong, there are so many different ways out there of doing this. There are dies that could also help you create this. There are templates out there on the internet that could help you create this. But this is just my ultra simple kind of gift box go-to set. I mean, you can dress it up from here. What I tend to usually do is to pop a little bit of a lace trim along the edges of these pockets and things like that, depending on how bulky you want it to be. If you want it to sit really nice and flat, then I don't add anything, but as I said, a little bit of trim or ribbon looks really nice as well, whether it be die cut or just real. Now, just for the very front, I like to keep things super simple, mainly until I know who this gift set is going to. And this one today is mainly just to show you guys. So I'm doing some really basic kind of decorations so that I know I can dress it up a little bit more when I know who it's going to. I don't want this to go to waste, obviously, but at the moment, this one isn't for someone in particular. So I have just cut out a nice sheet of that blue and added a little bit of liquid glue on the front. This one is going to be my front panel. I like that nice white big wide border, but of course you can go from cover to cover if you wish. You could also put something on the spine of this, but I prefer to do some stamping and things up the spine. I think that can also look really nice. But anyhow, as I said, there are lots of options, and I'm just showing you kind of the most basic of basic around this. Now, we do need to think about how we're going to kind of close this up as well. And so what I do for that is I use some little satin ribbon. This is a really thin, I think it's around maybe 5 millimeters thick, wide, sorry. And what I do is I just cut a piece off, then I pop down some double-sided tape, and I just pop down a wee bit, take off the release paper, pop my ribbon down on top of it, and then we don't want the ribbon to pull out. That would be not good for the recipient. And so I pop another piece of double-sided tape on top of that, peel off the release paper from that, and then I bend the ribbon back around to fold back on itself. And I have never had one of these pop out through all of the times I've used them, through all of the times I've seen my recipients use them. No one has ever said the ribbon pops out if you make sure you fold it back on top of itself after another layer of double-sided tape. Then I remove my release paper from the underside pieces, and I pop this down. I pop a bone folder on the inside just to make sure it is sealed really nicely and has really good adhesion. So that's kind of one side finished, and we are getting there with this one. To do the other side, I also need to make sure that this is even. So I find out where I need to put my little piece of double-sided tape, and I quite like the height of this because it covers up that ribbon. That's part of the reason why I do it so well. It also gives a really good amount to kind of hold in the cards. I find if you make a triangle too small, it tends to kind of flop around a little bit, and we want to make sure everything is really secure. So I've popped that ribbon back on itself after 2 layers of the double-sided tape, and then once I've taken off the release paper, I can pop my second triangle right in. This one goes right up to the edges. If you like, you can also give it a little gap. Again, I like it here because it covers up that little piece of ribbon as well. Give it a good push down to make sure everything is super secure, and we are getting there. This is going to be the back. It's going to be pretty much the same size, the same look as the front. And again, you can either choose to decorate the back or not decorate the back. I just like to keep it pretty simple. From here, there's a couple more things. I thought I would add some of these curvy leaf dies on the front. Again, this just gives it a little more decoration. You could do some stamping on here. You could also add some chipboard or thicker embellishments if you wanted to. You could die cut out some letters or use some stickers, kind of the alphabet ones, and personalize it depending on who it's going to. I mean, just lots of good options. But for here, I was just, as I said, this is the Pinkfresh Studios Curvy Leaves. These are some of my most favorite dies that I have in my whole stash. And I'm just going to pop these on, and then I will add the final decorations once I know who this gift set is going to. Now, I know I said earlier on in the video that I tend to put 5 envelopes and 5 cards in my gift set. If you want to add more, then you just make the little pieces thicker. So you can obviously give it a thicker spine, and then you would make the little triangles have a little bit more thickness to them too. So this one here, I've just got 5 cards, 5 envelopes. They tuck in really nicely, and then you can close them up. I prefer to just tie the ribbon into a little bow. What I tend to do is tie the bow and then figure out how long I want to keep the ribbons. Then I will cut them and then make sure you heat them so that they don't end up fraying. But there is it from a side view. I like that the orange kind of peeks out. I quite like that little bit of different color in there. But this is my little gift box set ready to go. As I said, I'll personalize it a little bit more depending on who it's going to. But I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. This is a very simple, fun version to create if you are giving away a little gift set. I will link any of the supplies used in today's video down in the description box below this video if they are still available, but I'm sure you have everything at home to pretty much make this one. So enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks, bye!